stuff that you've been worrying about. Never mind, never mind.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Fisher and Ronnie Experience, our podcast series that you can see on our YouTube channel, and you can also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher is the areas that you can catch our podcast. Otherwise, be sure and check us out on
YouTube at Fisher and Ronnie, and this video will be live.
Yes, this video will be on our YouTube channel. We do our podcast every Monday at 7 o'clock Central. That's when we release our podcast every Monday. And then our regular uploads usually happen on Saturday for our YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, Saturday, sometime on Saturday, we usually film the videos, and then we do all our podcast on Monday, right?
Monday,
yeah,
yep, Monday at 7 o'clock Central. Fisher had to look at the board too. Okay, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure if you're checking us out on Apple Podcasts to subscribe to that as well. And each and every week we'll be bringing these podcasts that brings everything disability. And so, Fisher, what I've done this week is I've reached out to some of the disabled community from a lot of different angles. And what we've got is we've got 3 guests possibly tonight that is going to talk about their highs, their lows, what worked, what different, what didn't. And they're going to talk about the different, things that they think might help people that may be trying to get into this dating world, after disability.
Yes, you started dating a few years after you got out of the Shepherd Center.
I did. And Fisher, at this time, I guess, right now, we would like to welcome our first guest. Kelly's on the phone. Are you there, Kelly?
I'm doing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Kelly, first off, tell us a little bit about your injury, what kind of injury you have, what kind of disability, and then we'll move on past that.
Well, I was in a car accident back in '99, 20 years ago. I was ejected from the vehicle because I didn't have my seatbelt on. The car would have been crushed my back. And I'm a T11 L3 or T9 L3. I'm not exactly sure, but right about belly button from there down, completely paralyzed. And I also had a traumatic brain injury, which messed up my memory and my vision. I was completely blind for 5 months when I came out of the coma.
Yes.
But I can see now. I just have no peripheral vision, like tunnel vision, so I'm legally blind. I can't drive a car or anything. But thank God I can see what I can. And I lost all my memory from before my accident, my childhood growing up, me being in the Navy, doing my jobs and stuff. I can't picture. I just know what I've been told. And some things come back, and it was very hard for me, when I first came out of the accident, not knowing where I was at, being in so much pain, and situating life because I had to do everything over again from a wheelchair, it was very difficult. And especially with the relationship part, meeting the girl, because I can't drive. And I actually met my wife on Christian Mingle, and I met a couple girls on Christian Mingle, and it just never worked out. They were just looking for somebody to take care of them and their kids and everything, but God brought me to this great girl, and we've been together ever since. We've been together almost 4 years now.
Okay, so Christian Mingle. So did you try out any of the other dating websites, or is that the one that you went with, or that's
just the one I went with because I have a strong faith in my Lord and everything. I have a strong relationship with the Lord, and I wanted to make sure God brought me with somebody that had one, because that's one thing that's really brought me through my accident was my faith in the Lord.
Yes, sir. I understand that, and without a doubt, in my opinion, a relationship with the Lord needs to be right in the center of that relationship as well. And so,
Amen.
I've also been on Christian Mingle, and I've been on Zeus, and I've been on Match, and personally, I've met Christian women on all of them. But I admire your thinking when you do that. So you said you've been with your current. Are you married at this time?
Yes, we've been married almost 2 years now. This October will be 2 years.
Okay, so let's go back. Before you met your wife, you get on the date. You get on Christian Mingle, and you're now paralyzed. And going into this, would you say that you were as confident in dating as you were before your accident, or less confident after your accident, or do you think it was the same?
Honestly, like I said, I don't remember before my accident. From what I was told, I was a
exactly.
back before my accident and everything, I was hooking up with ladies, and I was confident. I've always had confidence. But my main thing was, yes, I was worried that a girl would want me because of me being in a wheelchair, not be able to drive because of my vision impairment, and having to do so much for me to be able to get around, get from point A to point B. They would have to come see me and come get me and everything. So that was a real difficulty. But then the wheelchair, yes, I'm paralyzed from the waist down, but I'm still the same person. I'm a better person than I was before my accident. So I've always been confident, but I dealt with, depression and everything after my accident. And I have worried about women not seeing me, seeing the wheelchair, not seeing me as a person. And I've had a couple of them do that.
Yeah, I understand. Now, Fisher, do you have kids?
What?
No, I was going to say, Kelly, do you have kids? Do either of you?
No, I don't have any children. I never had any children before my accident. And me and my wife, I can't do it naturally because my accident and everything and some surgery I've had. So we had to do artificial insemination. And my wife's high risk and everything. And we're both almost 40 years old. So we're looking into being a foster family right now.
Yes, sir.
We're looking into that, be a foster family.
That's something that eventually we're going to do a podcast on, Fisher, is, when I look throughout especially, the disability world, spinal cord injury, CP, SMA, it doesn't matter which one, there's a lot of questions, can this disabled person, whether it be a male or female, still have kids? And ultimately that really doesn't matter because there's plenty of kids in this world that need a good home. And so, that should never be a thought. Wouldn't you say, Fisher?
Yes, because there's always a kid in the system of foster who needs that parent to give them a home.
Exactly. So, you're looking into fostering kids. And so when you met your wife, which you said 4 years ago, you dated for 2 years. At what point did you see that it was probably this could be her?
Well, like I said, God just told me she was, and she lived 35 minutes away from me, and she drove every day when she wasn't working. She was working at the hospital at that time. She was a respiratory therapist, and if she wasn't working, every day she drove down to see me and everything. We went out, we went to places. My family loved her, and we just fell in love, and God just told me she's the one after just a couple of months, so this is the one for me, and we've been together ever since.
I understand. So, even though you may not remember pre-accident, would you say that, let me back up a little bit. I know from my standpoint that when I got on dating websites and I started meeting women after my accident, after I suffered my spinal cord injury, I would say that maybe, some of the first ladies that I met, I was probably more of the cause of it not working more than them, because they were working hard, to work through, the disability. But, I had roadblocks where my confidence wasn't as high as what it was before. And, obviously you don't remember before, but would you say that you had a little bit of a roadblock here or there with your confidence after, when you started dating?
Yes, kind of, because the confidence, not because, I've always been a confident person, I've been a ladies' man from what I was told and everything, and I still had the smooth talking, but my confidence was kind of down because of me being in a wheelchair, me not able to get around and do things, and then also performing sexually and everything, because I can't feel it and I can't do it naturally, So I had confidence, I had questions about that, can I satisfy a woman the way I used to and everything, but there's a way, there's more ways to do it than just once, so. My confidence never really went down, except for the fact that, I was in the wheelchair and I was hoping a woman would look at the wheelchair and look at me and the person I am.
I understand. And, the one thing that, as a father, and some people may think, these conversations, with Fisher in, they may be a little bit too much. But, the one thing that I do, I really think that this is, in my opinion, kid, like Fisher's age, it's very friendly, because he needs to understand that it takes both that's involved. There's many ways of being happy. You have roadblocks, obviously after the disabled, if you become disabled, and you got to work through these roadblocks as a team, right?
Well, that's exactly right. Where there's a will, there's a way. And you may not be able to do everything like you used to, but there's ways to do it. And there's so many medical advances to be able to do things. And you just have to search for it, and you just have to push for it. Don't ever give up, and don't ever give up that faith.
That's exactly right. I think there's good points, Kelly. Don't give up your faith. Don't give up in anything that you're doing, right, Fisher? You just got to you just got to push forward.
Like you said, there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way. You don't need to give up, because there's always going to be someone out there.
Exactly. There's always going to be somebody out there. Just like, it's just the same thing, whether you're able-bodied or not. It's the same thing whether I'm talking to Fisher or whether I'm talking to you with a spinal cord injury. My advice is there's somebody out there for you, right, Fish?
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the earth.
There's a lot of people on the earth. Well, Kelly, we've really enjoyed having you on the Fisher and Ronnie experience, and hopefully we can, as we do these podcasts every week, and we have our YouTube videos going up, educational videos, and we have vlogs that cover mine and Fisher's life. We just want to bring peace, and we want to bring help to the community of all disabilities. And we really appreciate your time on tonight's show, and we hope that that you've enjoyed yourself, and we hope that things the things that you've pointed out will be an inspiration to others. So any last words?
You there?
Yes, sir. Any last words?
Well, just keep on pushing. Never give up. If y'all ever need to talk about anything, let me know. I'm an open book. I don't get embarrassed to talk about anything. So that's one thing I want you to know. Y'all can reach out to me about anything.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, we really appreciate your time, Kelly, and this will be up on.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Please, everybody, wear that seatbelt in that car. It's not worth it. Wear that seatbelt. Leave that phone alone when you're driving too.
Yes, sir. That's good. Good advice. Don't dive in the water. Wear your seatbelt, and don't use don't use the phones in the car. 100%. Great advice. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining the show.
Well, thank you. God bless.
God bless. Fisher, them were some good points to point out, as we get in touch with our next guest, is, might talk a little bit, Fisher, that, car accidents, diving, them are the number one causes for what's wrong with your dad, spinal cord injuries.
Yes, and you always tell me whenever we go to the pool, don't dive in the shallow end, because if you dive, your head can go in head first and push into your spinal cord, right?
That's exactly right. And the thing about it is we hope to to bring that awareness to everybody. Hello, Megan. Megan is our next person up on the Fisher and Ronnie Experience. Fisher, say hello.
Hey, Miss Megan.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing good. Okay, Fisher, let's have Megan. Megan, if you don't care, real quick, just go down your history, what disability you have and what challenges that brings, and then we'll move into the dating part of things.
Sure. So I have a disability called Spina Bifida. And so really the difficulties that brings for me is I have trouble walking long distances, so I use a wheelchair. That's really the biggest thing. There's other things.
So
I'm unable to feel my feet. Let me see. There's so many different things. I'm unable to feel from my knees down is what the doctors have always said, but it's sort of spotty as far as feeling. But I guess that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so in reality, to the spinal cord injury patients that watch the Fisher and Ronnie Experience, you're similar to what a para would be then in the spinal cord injury world.
I would say yes.
Similar. Okay. So, and obviously, I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure this is you had this at birth, correct?
Yes, this is a congenital condition, which means that it's something that I've had since birth.
Exactly. And I don't know if Fisher was aware of that, Fisher, but this particular, disability is, your mom has a really close friend that had a baby a few years back that they were able to do surgery on in the womb, and that's come a long way, right?
Yes, it really has. When I was born, I'm 33, so that was a long time ago. When I was born, that procedure was really in its baby stages, and my parents were actually offered that, but because it was in such a baby stage of everything, they decided against it. But now it's very common.
Yes, I was. And I know that the outcome for their child, has been very positive with that procedure. I'm not in close contact with them, but your mother is, Fisher.
Yeah, but like, can you walk? Like you said, you can't walk far distances, but like, could you, like, let's say you're in your wheelchair, right? And can you like walk to the couch of your bed, like from right there? Like you said, you couldn't walk long distances.
Right. So I can walk inside my house.
Okay.
I do have the ability to do that. I have my best friend for 30 years also has spina bifida and is unable to walk. So as far as spina bifida goes, there's such a huge range of abilities.
Okay. Now, right now we're going to have your picture up, and everybody sees your picture. Explain the part that they're going to read on the YouTube channel. Ambassador, explain that to us.
So this is really exciting. I recently joined a program called Miss Wheelchair of Pennsylvania, and I participated in a weekend where there was a competition where you got asked different questions about your disability and different ways that you have been in the disability community and able to advocate for the disability community. And then there were 5 girls, and the one who presented the best won. I wasn't the winner, but I'm still able to be part of the program. So I've been advocating and finding different ways to advocate for the disability community since then.
And so when you say that, you're advocating for all disabilities then?
Yes. Obviously I have a lot of experience in the spina bifida community because that's the disability that I have. But it's been really fun for me to learn about all disabilities and find ways to, advocate for all disabilities.
I understand, quite honestly, there's a lot about, I know bits and pieces about other disabilities other than the spinal cord injury, but just bits and pieces. And so, it's very educational for me and Fisher when we talk to, the other parts of the disabled community, that we learn, as well as, hopefully everybody else that watches the podcast or watches our YouTube channel. And, Fisher, I've got a trivia question. Hopefully Megan don't mind this, but naming your hometown. But I've got Fisher's a big hockey fan. So real quick, Fisher, who is the NHL affiliate team that plays for Hershey, Pennsylvania?
For the Hershey Bears.
I believe that's correct, right, Megan?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
AHL team.
Yep, AHL team. Very good, Fisher. I figured you would get it. Okay, so now, we're born, obviously we're living, as comfortably as possible with a disability. At what age or how long ago did you start dating?
That is a great question. So I would say that I started really late. So I would say... let me see. I've been at my current job for almost 7 years now. So I would say that's when I started, really. So I'm 33 now. So okay. I can't really do the math, but 20 something. So that, I don't know, I feel like that's really late.
Yeah, 26, yeah, kind of. Okay, so when you started, was it online?
It was actually, as a matter of fact.
What sites?
I was on Tinder.
That's okay. It don't, it doesn't matter. Through my years of online dating, I'll say this, I can't really tell an ounce of difference in any of them. That's just my opinion. I'm probably wrong. Yeah, I'm probably wrong. Okay. So, what has been some of your big struggles in it?
I just recently am getting out of a relationship, and it's funny because my biggest struggle in that relationship was, I don't really know how to explain this, but he was very considerate of the things that I dealt with my disability, but it also was a point of contention, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yes, ma'am. I understand. So, and you don't have to give an exact, would you say, since you've been dating for, you said 7 years, since you was 26, I guess, how many different, what would you say the ratio to, say, good, what you would consider good understanding of the disability versus the bad?
I would say that 100% of them they were all understanding, but I do feel as though there's a difference between understanding and being able to handle it, if that makes any sense.
I agree 100%. Now,
does that make sense?
It does. Without a doubt. I've noticed that myself. Fisher, over the years with me dating, I've always had, everybody's always been, pretty well, okay with, your dad's position, right?
Yeah, you've not had nobody that was like too in it, like where they wouldn't touch you or anything, but they didn't touch like your legs, like where it hurts.
Yep. The thing about it is I will say this, I tell people all the time, because I see a lot of horror stories on the, on social media about this subject. And I've had really good success. I've met a lot of really good people that are still friends with me on Facebook, still in my text messages. For one reason or another, it may not have worked. They may not have been the person for me in marriage. But, I've met a lot of good people. And now, I will say this, is that out of all the people that I've ever met, I've probably had 2 ladies, in my 7 or 8 years, whatever it's been, in online dating that just, flat told me, I apologize. They were very nice about it, but I don't know that I can handle the wheelchair.
Right.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Right. And I think it's a difficult thing to hear at first, but I also think that it takes a strong person to just come right out and say it. And it's so much easier for us to be told that outright instead of having somebody pretend. Yes, ma'am.
And because quite honestly, I tell people in our community all the time, the disabled community, when you get into a interabled relationship, myself, I'm a little different than you, for the majority of my life, I was not in a wheelchair. And so I can't tell you how I would have reacted, versus,
right.
So I know I'm like you. I don't try to point fingers as long as they are just up front.
Right.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about that. What are some of the better experiences? What have you learned about yourself, about maybe humanity? What have you learned that's real positive through your experience of dating?
So, I just feel like it's been, since I started dating so late, I was really hesitant. And I hate to say that because I want, I feel like I'm a really confident person, but it takes for anybody, it takes a lot to go out there and start dating. And it was really nice to sort of see that it wasn't going to be a huge issue for a lot of the people that I've dated.
Yeah, I understand. Like I told our first guest, of the podcast tonight. There is zero doubt, like the first 2 or 3 ladies that I personally dated, that I was the major issue myself. My brain is because I really struggled with the confidence.
Right.
And so I knew that, looking back, I now know that, and I'm better for it now, and, I'm, me personally, I'm still on the sites, off the sites, on maybe one of these days, but, I don't dwell on it. And, I think that's something that from a woman's perspective, what about the part of, do you dwell on meeting the right person, or are you kind of on off, or how do you handle that as a woman in the disabled world, in the dating game?
That's a funny question. I consider myself someone who is a Christian, and so I try really hard to concentrate less on my anxiety of finding the right person, and knowing that it's gonna, and I hate to say this because it's gonna happen when it's gonna happen, but I think it's true. And I'm 33, and I sometimes have anxiety because I'm older and haven't found, I guess, quote, the one. But and you just have to build your confidence in yourself and realize that you're awesome and the right person's gonna come.
I think you're really gonna, hopefully, a lot of I see a lot of ladies on social media that really struggle with this. Not only ladies, but men too. But being that you were the first guest was a male, it's great to hear a female's perspective, because I hear a lot of confidence, I hear a lot of good words, hear of a lot of good advice. And that's what this podcast is for, right, Fisher? We're just trying to help people in hard situations, because the disability is already hard enough, but everything along with it doesn't have to be that hard, right, Fisher?
Yes, like you said, like you some people take it different than others with the disabled part of somebody, but I think that you sometimes have to just, what's the word I'm trying to think of, accept them for who they are, not accept them for who they are, but not be so staticky scared.
Well, the truth of the matter is, Fisher, I believe, Megan, you'd agree, regardless if you're in a wheelchair, regardless of if you've got a disability or not, at some point, whether you're able-bodied or not, there's a lot of the push and shove that you just gotta, you gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah, agree.
Would you agree, Megan?
Absolutely, with anybody, not just someone who uses a wheelchair or who has a disability,
Okay, so here we go, Megan. I'm going to give you as long as you need here, but if you're talking to the ladies of the disabled community, give me your best advice, your best to your experiences that you've had, what you've learned. Let me hear the best advice that you can give to a lady that watches this and is struggling with this, and what pointers can you give her to be not just successful finding the one, but being successful in not getting dejected because you haven't found the one yet?
So through my experiences, the best advice that I can give is to be bold in your experiences and be bold in sharing your disabilities and the things you struggle with, because number one, that's going to create a bond between the two of you, and that's also going to show the person that you're not scared of your disability, and if you're not scared of your disability, they're not going to be either.
That's good advice. That's great advice, actually. And is there, as we close out this portion of the show, Megan, is there anything else that you would like to talk about tonight?
I'm just really thankful for this opportunity. Having myself being somebody who has just recently started dating, it's kind of fun to be on the show.
Well, okay. You know what? The thing about it is by no means do I claim to be an expert. I've been injured for 10 years. No, do I claim to know everything? But the one thing about it is if we don't get it out there, we none of us learn, and so our goal is just to get stuff out there. I'm gonna, just like tonight, I've learned something about your disability, so we'll all learn together. And I promise you that tonight that you've went a long way in helping somebody. You've went a long way because somebody watching the podcast or watching the video, the podcast video on YouTube, this will help them. And that stuff, me and Fisher, we see the results, we see the emails that we get, we see the messages that we get, and whether we help 1 or 100, Fisher, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, to help and just get people to call in and set and help somebody.
Exactly. Well, we really appreciate, Megan, you joining us tonight, and we look forward to hopefully one day we'll do a podcast on I don't want to just butcher that, but Spina Bifida, right?
That's right.
I didn't want to butcher it, but hopefully one day we can do a podcast on that, or maybe, and we can jump into that and explain to the world, exactly what this disability is and how it affects people from a very bad standpoint to a very light standpoint. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. We really appreciate your time tonight, Megan, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Awesome. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Fisher, that is great stuff right there, Fisher, as we learn, more about the disability world, we're learning just like everybody else.
Yeah, agreed. And just learning other people's disabilities and what they do and how their life works. Exactly.
And so, the key to it is, Fisher, is, I highly recommend that, if you've got kids in your family, to let them watch the podcast. It may not be, some things may not be suitable exactly, but not, we're going to keep it very clean. And, it just really helps us, it'll help your child, be, more considerate, I think, and helpful. Wouldn't you think?
Yep.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Everybody watching the Fisher and Ronnie Experience, we're going to welcome our third guest, and tell us your name and exactly, I don't believe you're injured. Your fiance is, right?
Yes, so he's right. Jared.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so let me go ahead and say, go ahead and give me y'all's first names.
My name's Jared, and my fiance here is Hannah.
Okay. Let me just say this. We've had 2 guests on tonight, right, Fisher?
Yes.
And we've had 1 male, 1 female. The first gentleman, Kelly, was married, but his wife was unable to talk tonight. And then Megan was on the show just a while ago, and she gave, a woman's perspective. She's not married yet and currently not dating, but now we get the opportunity to talk to, obviously a success story together. And so let's start with what type of injury we have and when we suffered it and how long, and let's start there.
Okay. I believe I was 28 or 29. It was 2011. At the end of the year, my dad has a construction business, and it's a family business, and every year it's kind of a family reward. We would take a family trip. And on the trip in Mexico, I had a diving accident, and I broke my neck in December of 2011. That rendered me a quadriplegic, C5 complete, Asia A. And like I said, that was 8 years ago.
Okay, so a C5 complete, Asia A. Give us an idea of, because being a quadriplegic, that is a, regardless of what level, that is a wide range of how it
You are
affects you.
absolutely correct.
You know,
they say spinal cord injuries are like fingerprints. We're all
Yes,
different.
yes, and so like I'm a C3 incomplete, and I have full arm function and probably 75-80% finger function, and so I'm very fortunate. But go ahead and go us into detail exactly where you are in that range. Where are you at?
Okay, so I have no triceps. I have no finger function. I am able to extend my wrist, but I can't flex it. My sensation stops just above my nipples, and then I have very, very weak core. I am able to transfer myself, but just very weak core and pretty much not a lot of volitional control below my chest.
Okay, that's we've got a good picture of that. Now, real quick, how did y'all meet?
Do you want to take this, Hannah?
So I was planning to travel for 2 years. I was ramping up to quit my job. So I was taking on extra gigs. I was repping soccer and doing other things. And one of my friends at work actually worked for Jarred as a caregiver, and I had no experience in that realm. But she said somebody had just left, and he was looking for somebody to do weekends. And so I was like, sure, why not? So she introduced us, and from there, I remember the first time meeting Jarred, I was very nervous. I didn't know what to expect, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And she had told me that he needed to leave his apartment because he went to therapy all day. He came home and rode his FES bike and then didn't get out much, but he was a really cool guy. So I remember going there and just listing off all the cool festivals that were going to be downtown Louisville, and then I also demanded that we go to brunch if I took the job.
And she likes to say she demanded, but here I am in my apartment, and this beautiful girl comes in to take a job, and she's just talking my ear off and telling me I have to take her out to brunch, and I'm hired. When you start today.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, out of curiosity, had you dated another woman before?
Not since my injury.
Okay, not since your injury. Wow. Okay. Now, would you say now obviously a beautiful woman walks in and she's saying this, you're probably like, whoa, wait a minute here. Would you say that you were confident, or at what time did you tell yourself, I might like to date this woman?
I really remember that because I always, I was attracted to her and I had a great time with her, but I didn't know if she necessarily saw me that way. And then I remember there was a time when we had gone out to lunch, because we were doing all these things together, and I was really falling for her. And I sent a picture to my family of us out to lunch, and my sister texts me back and goes, "Are y'all dating or not?" And I was like, "Well, I don't think so, but that's a nice thought." But I don't know.
Yeah.
And from there, I kind of started putting the pressure on Hannah a little bit. I was like, you know what? I got to go for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm guessing, and I'm going out on a limb here, Hannah, that you had never dated anybody in a wheelchair before?
That's a fair assumption.
Fair assumption, yeah. Not only in a wheelchair, but quadriplegia adds a little bit of bonus into that, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A lot thrown at her right away, and that's one thing I absolutely love about Hannah is she can pull the computer out of my power wheelchair and reset it. She will fix parts on my manual chair. She does the maintenance on my commode chair. She does my health care. There's nothing I can throw at this girl that she can't handle.
Well, I'm thinking maybe the quads that watch this are going to say, is there a chance that we could clone her, right, Fish?
Yeah.
But Hannah, okay, so we've now heard, right off the bat, we're attracted to you, and immediately, we start gaining feelings for you. Could you tell this when this was going on?
Honestly, I thought he was just kind of close with introduced me, and she was still, I guess, coming in a couple times a week.
I'm 11 years older than Hannah as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I'd been in a long-term relationship before Jarred, so about 5 years through college, and then I kind of was against dating. Like, I went on dates, and I had somebody that I was seeing a little bit, but I was absolutely focused on traveling and doing my own thing. So I was not wanting to date, but I told Jarred, like, I felt like this connection where I wanted to be with him more often. So, like, he would always text me telling me that somebody wouldn't be able to come in on a certain day. I literally knew that he was lying. But I always took up, like, extra shifts with him, or I would come even when somebody else was working, and we'd, like, go hang out. So it was just a lot of fun. Like, we did a lot of things together that first year, and we continue to do a lot of things together, and I think that's kind of what spurred all that.
Yeah, we both like getting out and doing things. I just had lost that part of me after the injury, and, you know, Hannah was so insistent on getting me out, and, like, you know, why are you in this apartment? Like, stop. You do enough therapy. What about life?
Yeah, the thing about it is, I always tell people, not to change the subject real quick, when I see people on social media that are newly injured, and I consider newly injured a year and a half, you're still, you're not thinking where you need to be thinking yet. And I tell people all the time, exactly what Hannah told you, at some point when you suffer any type of disability like this, life has to go on at some point, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
It just has to.
I kind of don't like the, you got to find your new normal, that kind of rubs me the wrong way, but it is true. Life does go on, and it might not be the life that you envision, but you pick yourself up and you live it.
Exactly, and, I tell people all the time, if you think that as the person that has the disability, if you think your new normal is hard, if your disability, if you were not disabled your entire life, think about how you might have reacted walking into an interabled relationship. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I honestly, I don't know how Hannah saw through it, to be honest with you. I'm just, and she's a person that I see as having the option to do whatever she wants to do and live life however she wants, and she chooses me, and that really blows my mind.
Well, I'll tell you, Hal, is, regardless of what we see on television, regardless of what we see on the internet, there's good people in the world, right, Fisher?
Oh, yeah, there's good people around the globe.
And, Dad's dated several good ladies, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah, regardless of, they just weren't the one, there's nothing bad to say. I have met lots of good people through dating, and, they're good people out there. And, the false information you see out there, I don't know why he or she's with him or her because of this, them stereotypes, they are out there. There's no doubt about it. But, I don't think it's as widespread as what people thinks it is.
I think you're right, and I don't think other people think about my disability as much as I do. It's more in my head than it is anybody else's.
There's no doubt about it. My friends that I'm with, there is no doubt about, if I'm, even with Fisher or whatever we're doing, I think I'm holding us back, blah, I'm slow, blah, blah, blah. I know without a shadow of a doubt, if they didn't want to be there, they wouldn't be there. And
right.
They're not thinking that we are, correct?
Correct. I think that's true.
Exactly. And getting back to you, Hannah, real quick. Now you've met this guy, and obviously you start introducing him to friends, family. What was the reception from that angle?
Actually, our first day, I had dinner plans with my friend, and we were out because we'd gone to a late brunch. It took me a little while to get the care down in the morning. Like I said, I was very new to that. So I think we went to brunch around 2 o'clock. So I honestly got him dressed, and I went into the living room, kind of giving him time to get situated in his chair and stuff. And I was just kind of awkwardly standing there. I remember Jarred yelling out, "Are we still going to brunch?" try to play it full,
Yeah.
like, if you wanted to, I don't know.
Well, what about okay, and so
So,
I'm sorry.
yeah, so that night I already had plans, and Jared just came along, and I think all my friends are very receptive.
That's good.
They've been with Jared.
As terrified as I've been of, scenarios and getting out with a girl for the first time in a chair, there's just the accessibility everywhere and everything just seems so daunting and like a nightmare, and it's not. And Hannah made it so easy, and Hannah, she'll call a place and scope the accessibility, or she'll go to a place first, and she just makes it so easy.
But also, like, shout out to my friends. If you were meeting somewhere, they would look at that, and they would call and say, oh, there's steps, there's no way, there's no ramp, there's, something like that, so we would change our location. So that was really cool, too. And I remember the first time we went to eat with my parents.
Oh, yes. So the first time I meet her parents, they come, and actually my parents happen to be in town at the same time, so our parents meet, and then when we're going out to dinner, and the dinner place had like 5 steps up, but we scoped it out, and they had a little lift. Well, they couldn't figure the lift out, and I got in the lift, and they couldn't get it shut, and they got it shut, and it wouldn't work, and it took me like 20 minutes to get to the seat.
And my parents and I were just standing at the top, like we're literally 2 feet from him, because it's just 5 steps.
It was mortifying.
And Jared, I could tell he was just squeamish.
Yeah, it's like the one, you just meet this girl that you're so interested in, and you love her, and you meet her parents, and you don't want them to see you as someone who's incapable and not going to take care of their daughter, and then the first thing, you're spending 20 minutes trying to get up 3 steps, but it was good. You get over it, it's not, when looking back, it's not nearly as big of a deal in reality as it was in my head, but it did suck.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said a while ago. Again, most of the roadblocks that happen, not in every situation, but most of them, we create them in our head to start with.
I believe you're right.
Yeah. I do. And,
We have roadblocks, but the majority of it's in our head.
But on people that have disabilities behalf, really and truly, it's one of the toughest things I've ever dealt with. I'll just be honest with you, getting over them roadblocks. It's really tough, right?
Yeah, for sure. And just getting yourself in a positive mental space about your body and what you're dealing with.
Well, I'm sitting here now. Okay, so we're to this point. Now we're getting ready. When are we getting married, by the way?
So with all the Corona stuff going on, we've decided to back it up. So we're looking at a long engagement, possibly next New Year's.
Next New Year's, okay. So, okay, and at that point, now I'm looking at Fisher, and I'm thinking, what about kids? We got kids in the future?
That's something that we've talked about. There's a lot of obstacles there, but there's, that's something we've talked about. And we're both interested, but we both don't know if ultimately it's the right call, and we don't know if we talk about our own children, and then we talk about fertility issues, and we've talked about adopting, and just as we develop our relationship, we'll see which direction we decide to go with that.
That's the last guest that we talked to. That is, or maybe no, it was the first guest. I'm sorry. Fisher, we talked about that, and there's lots of kids that need to be adopted. There's lots of kids in foster homes, Fisher, and them kids need a home too, right?
Yeah, they just want a mother and father to care for them.
And and I think that in our community, in the disabled community, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves about that as far as children go. That's why I brought it up, and because it can be expensive, and then it may not work, and that they are obstacles, but there's always solutions with what we're talking about now. With I would really like to see that in this discussion when I see it on social media when they're talking about can I have kids. I'd love to see the discussion be, of course you can have kids, because there's babies that need to be adopted, and there's kids that need to be fostered, correct?
For sure, and not just that, but I've been lucky. I'm doing research at University of Louisville for spinal cord injury, and they have a lot of guest doctors that come in. And University of Miami specializes in fertility for SCI. And to be honest, the percentage chance that we have with all the medical advancements, we have just a good shot as a healthy individual as being a father. Now, there's more steps that are involved, but we have almost just as good as chance.
Okay.
So,
that's good information. That could be another podcast in itself. That's really good information. I'm going to reach back out. Maybe we can discuss that eventually one day. And, I hear two people that I can tell over the telephone here that are very happy and, love each other, and they know where each other stands. And that's something that really, touches my heart, because, people laugh at me, people say mean things to me on social media, but I will go to my grave saying this: the chair doesn't end life, it's a chance for a new beginning.
for sure. I'll take a chair over a coffin.
Any day. I tell people now that, I'm living my best life. I really am. I may not be able to do exactly what I thought I would at this age, just like you're not either, but I know this, after speaking with you and Hannah, you both are living your best life right now.
We're trying, and I do think that when you have a situation like we have, it puts you in a chair. I do think you get a lot of perspective on life, and you can kind of whittle away a lot of the noise that doesn't matter and get down to the bare bones of what's important in life, and that really can help you have a fulfilling life moving forward.
I agree 100%. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to start with, as we wind down this portion of the Fisher and Ronnie experience, I'm going to ask Hannah to get back on real quick and, to reach out to the podcast world, reach out to the YouTube world here, and take as long as you need, or is not, whatever you need, and tell the world exactly what are the things that you've learned that can make this successful and can make this as smooth as possible and make this life as great as possible in an interabled relationship.
Wow. Okay. So, I think I could honestly tell from the beginning, like, Jarred has a very positive personality, and what really attracted me to him was, even though he had suffered such an injury, like, that put him in a chair, it changed the course of his entire life. He was no longer able to do a lot of things for himself, which is absolutely frustrating. And there's a lot of things in this world that can break you, and to persevere, and then not only to persevere, but then to do the most to try to improve your situation. I think that's kind of what attracted me in the first place. Jarred's very sentimental, so he's but I think I overlooked a lot of the medical things. Like, I remember I loved just cuddling, and we were in his hospital bed. So he had a hospital bed in his living room, and he had the hospital bed just because it would recline and, adjust as needed. But he would, I guess, tie his legs down, and he was always so nervous about me being uncomfortable, but none of that ever bothered me. It was just, I noticed how supportive he was of me, and how he would, take a different role in my life than other partners have. And so it's really like a give or take. Like, I do a lot of things physically, but Jarred does a lot of things in terms of, assisting and doing research, and, like, we're definitely a partnership. Like, without Jarred, I can't cook worth a crap. And without
Hannah, I can cook.
So it's things like that, and it's really grown. We found, there's obviously things like I get kind of frustrated. I feel overwhelmed at times. There's a lot of pressure on me. Sorry, our dog's having a nightmare. Belly.
Well.
Sorry. So there's a lot of pressure on me, and it is overwhelming at times, but he always steps I find that I like our personal space. I was not comfortable having other caregivers doing care, or like getting Jared out of bed while I'm still in bed. Like that, for an example, really just didn't sit well with me. So I really like, especially because we're a newer couple, you know, and growing in our romantic ways, it just didn't fit in our picture. So it's just definitely working on things that, if it makes you uncomfortable, just voice it, and then together work on a remedy for that situation. But overall, like, I know Jared was so anxious about a lot of things. Like, he doesn't think that he'd be good at some things, including parenting. And I know for a fact, like, he would be the best dad, you know? So it's just, I think we're all in our own heads. I'm super self-conscious about, you know, little things that nobody else sees, and that's always how it's going to be. So if you put yourself out there, you're positive, and then you just support the other person, I think ultimately a great partnership can be formed.
I agree 100%. And before I ask Jared the same question I just asked you, I will tell Jared right now myself is, you know, Fisher's 12 now. Fisher was 2 when I had my accidents, and it was me and Fisher, I'm thinking from the time that he was 3. Maybe not. No, I'll be lying because I was in the hospital for almost a year. So maybe about 4 years old. It's been me and Fisher, and when I got home from the hospital, I was still pretty much, after a year, paralyzed from the neck down. I had a little bit of arm movement, but somehow, some way, God gave it away, and here me and Fisher are 12 years later, and you can watch our YouTube videos with us together, and, you know, our vlogs, and you can watch him on the educational videos that we do. And I can 100% tell you that Fisher kept me out of the nursing home, and, you know, you can be a great father, and I can tell by talking to you that, you know, that you'll be a great father one day if that's the route that you and Hannah choose. But
very much.
Yes, sir. But going now further, I'm going to ask you the same question we just asked Hannah. Now we're on a different angle now. Being the person that has the disability, when you look across the social media world, the internet world, and you look across the YouTube world, I want you to explain to people, you know, the things that it takes to be positive and to make this work, and that there is someone for everyone. Do not let bad experiences keep you down, and how you tackle that. I want you to tell the whole world what you feel about that.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but you know, I do think, you know, you get back from the world what you put out there, and if you put out some positivity and some love, that it'll come back, you know. And I've always been, you know, I feel like I've got a pretty good moral compass. I've always been, you know, a hard worker, and those things, you know, if you stay on track and are always trying to get better, I think eventually, you know, the right people come into your life. You just have to be patient, and you can't rush it, you know. It's, man, there's so much. I gotta take a drink here.
Yep, take your time. We got time.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely lots of challenges, and Hannah and I are like polar opposites in a lot of respects, and I think that is what leads to us being a great partnership, though. You know, I think what it comes down to, and like what I've seen in my parents' marriage and what made them such great partners, is in the successful relationships I see, people have defined roles, and they know their roles, and it's like they're a teammate, and one teammate knows what the other teammate's going to do, and that other teammate knows what the other one's going to do, and they're just on the same page. And, you know, once you find somebody that'll sync up on the same page with you, and you guys can share goals, you know, it's the sky's the limit. And being in a chair doesn't mean you're not eligible to find that person. You know, I don't know. You just find somebody that you align with, and you just keep going. I'm sure, like you know, you and your son do your YouTube channel together. I'm sure you guys have a great time doing that because Hannah and I have a YouTube channel, and just even the stuff that we don't publish, you know, just us working on filming stuff together and taking video, just giggling, and then we get to sit in bed and edit everything. So we go over everything. We get to have all those laughs over again, you know, and like
we're gonna edit ourselves.
Yeah, we sit here and just laugh at each other, you know. And it's
real quick because I'll forget. Real quick, what's the name of your channel where folks that are watching this, they can catch you?
It's Positively Paralyzed on YouTube.
Okay.
Taking a hiatus, but we have a new video that we already filmed and are trying to edit. You know, the struggle there.
Okay.
But it's a lot about you know, it's about our struggles in our relationship, and then it's also a lot about the medical research that I'm involved in, and just kind of our lives.
Okay, that's what I'll do is I will put that I'll put that in our YouTube description. So if you're wanting to check their channel out, I will put that in the description in the YouTube video. And so I really appreciate the time that you two have took out with us tonight. And, you know, I know, as you're well aware, you've got a channel, you know that every time you release a video, it may just be one person, but you're going to help somebody sometime, somewhere down the line. And, you know, that is exactly what me and Fisher are doing. And we really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing. You know, the disabled community needs more of a voice and needs more exposure. And you know, I think we're just letting other disabled people see how other disabled people live, to let them know it's normal and you can figure it out.
That's exactly right. Well, Fisher, that pretty much concludes this episode of the Fisher and Ronnie experience. We'd like to thank all our guests, including Hanna and Jarred, for joining us tonight. And make sure that if you're listening to this on Apple iPods, to hit that subscribe button. Make sure, Fisher, if they're watching it on YouTube,
to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
And we will have a new episode next Monday at 7 p.m. Central on our podcast station. We put new videos out every...
Saturday.
Yep, we put new videos out every Saturday. This is Ronnie.
And this is Fisher.
And we'll catch you next time on the Fisher and Ronnie Experience.
Never mind all the stuff that you've been worrying about. Never mind all the people trying to break